anybody there? Hi.
Evening.
Oh,
Hi, Stephen.
yeah. Excellent.
I have to disappear at 7. I have another call.
Well, it's being recorded, so.
Yep.
Where is it? I heard a bing bong, but I can't see the person.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Stephen. Hi. How are you?
Hello.
Good.
Hi, everyone.
Got John,
Hi.
important person.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Stephen.
Hooray, we did a test at 6:10 and we couldn't hear each other.
All right. I have a confession to make, that I got a WhatsApp message and then I looked at my clock and went, oh my gosh, it's 6:29. I'm working on the presentation for tomorrow. That's what I'm doing. So it was like, oh my gosh, how's that time gone?
Yes. Well, we were just practicing our, well, the video worked all right. I got the video to work, but couldn't get the sound to work. So it was, yes.
But you have now, so that's good.
I've now, yes.
Excellent stuff.
Good little video last night, Paul. I was quite a good summary of everything. It disappeared.
And he hasn't got his headphones on, so he wouldn't have heard that. He's got to put his Madonna mic back on. Okay, he's back with you now.
Yes. Yeah, I was just saying, Paul, a good little talk by you last night. You just walked off as though you missed the compliment.
You're muted now, Paul.
We can't hear the compliment back.
We can't hear you, Paul.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I wasn't going off for an encore and coming back. It was just to put the light on. That's all. I couldn't see my keyboard.
An encore on Zoom. It's a bit difficult someone.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of putting your intro at the front of every video event.
Oh no, don't do that to people.
But I've decided not to.
That's like that could be a human rights sort of issue.
Hello.
Right.
Right.
Mm.
It's not going like that.
So.
So, John, we'll just leave you to get going when you're ready. And I'll just keep letting people in. I'm going to try and see if I can switch off the noise when they come in, because it's quite distracting.
Is it right? Okay.
Well, I don't know. Do you not hear the ding dong?
No, well, haven't heard anything so far. No,
Yes, I hear the ding dong.
Yeah. I think I need to set it up before we get in.
Right. Well, let me know when you want to start, and I'll get straight into it. And am I looking at the camera? Whatever it is? I don't know what you're supposed to have to.
You just need to talk.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to this session on EcoHolmes. What we're going to do is just talk about EcoHolmes and how it's actually helping climate change within the valley, and hopefully helping meet the targets in the Home Valley Action Plan to achieve zero carbon by 2030. I have with me this evening Stephen Shared, who's the chairman of EcoHolmes, and I'm actually the secretary. What we're going to do, and we're basically going to show a couple of small videos, and then have a little presentation, and then we'll have a question and answer session at the end, which Stephen will, I'm sure, will chair very well. So I'm now going to go on to screen share and then take you through a slide presentation, if I may. Sorry, excuse me. Which I'm sure that will be okay. So we are EcoHolmes. We're EcoHolmes.
John, just to let you know that we can only see the PowerPoint slides, so you need to make sure you're sharing the right thing with us.
Okay, fine. Okay, so are you now seeing the slides in? Is that all okay?
We're just
We're seeing 4 slides at once, John.
we're basically seeing your we're not seeing you play the slides, we're only seeing the slides, if you know what I mean. So you
are seeing the main slide now, which is EcoHolmes.
No, it's like the thumbnails. It's the whatever they call them. Do you know what I mean? It's the reduced version, John.
In that case, then just let me. It could be because we're. We better correct this then, because there's a setting, isn't there, which actually shares when you're sharing a video. So because I really just want you to see the.
It worked okay on the test, John, at 6:15. So whatever you did then worked very well.
Okay.
You're with friends, we'll bear with you.
Yes.
No, I basically just want you to see the actual screen. So are you saying that you're not?
No, what happens is when you start playing something, it's opened up in another window. So you have to stop sharing what you were sharing and then try again. There you go.
That's better.
You're now seeing the whole screen, are you? You're now seeing?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect.
Fine. Okay. Right. Well, we'll go then. Right. Well, what we're going to do is just to say who are EcoHolmes. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about our mission, our aims and objectives, what we're trying to achieve. And then we're going to talk about the 2 strands of EcoHolmes, affordable housing and low energy sustainable housing, which is very much the message tonight about how EcoHolmes is going to help to combat climate change within the Home Valley. And then going to talk a little bit about sort of a community business model, how we're going to make it work. And then we'll obviously invite you to join us. We'd very appreciate more members and subscribers. And then at the end, we'll have a sort of a question and answer session about any questions that you might want to raise. Okay. Well, first of all, just to sort of a little bit about EcoHolmes. We're a member-led community business. We're set up by local people, and our objectives really are to try and help meet the local housing needs in the Home Valley. And it's a twofold approach. It's really want to build affordable homes and low-energy homes which are fit for the future. And importantly, these homes we would like to be, certainly rented homes, owned by the community. There are a growing number of community-led housing organisations in the UK, of which the Community Land Trust is one part. But it's increasingly an important part where the community gets involved and tries to make a contribution to meeting the housing needs of the local community. Right, okay, I'm now going to sort of try, just hopefully successfully, just show 2 short videos, about 6 minutes long in total, just give you some background information on community land trusts, and also an example of a community land trust in North Yorkshire. So.
Is it playing on your screen, John?
Sorry?
Is it playing on your screen?
Yes.
Right.
Is yours playing?
No, because it's opened in another window, so you have to stop sharing that one and go back in and do that. So pause it and then go back in.
Okay, let me just stop this one then.
Okay. Oh, we can see it now.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
As a nation, we are not building enough homes and haven't done so for decades. We are building less than half the homes needed just to keep up with the new households forming each year. This means that in many parts of the country, house prices and private rents continue to soar. This is a big worry for people, some putting their lives on hold because they cannot afford high rents or a deposit to buy a home, or are suffering because of overcrowding or poor private rented conditions. In rural areas, families are being priced out and vital local services such as shops, pubs and schools are closing. Elsewhere, whole neighbourhoods are blighted by empty properties, disinvestment and failed regeneration initiatives. In response to this, people everywhere are coming together to develop local solutions. They are setting up CLTs. Community land trusts are local organisations set up and run by volunteers to develop and manage genuinely affordable homes based on what people actually earn, as well as pubs, shops, gardens or workspaces. And not just for now, but for every future occupier. This means that CLT residents will have enough money left to spend on living. And because the community is in the driving seat, they can build the housing they really want, including the design and allocations, and may even make use of the land before development. Here's how it works. First of all, the land is bought by or transferred to the CLT. They then build the homes or assets, either by commissioning builders, by working with a developer or housing association, or by doing it themselves. There are over 175 community land trusts in England and Wales, half of which formed in the last 2 years, and there is huge potential for many more. The National Community Land Trust Network is the charity for CLTs in England and Wales. Our goal is to see a CLT in every community. So how can you be part of the movement too? Get in touch and get involved.
Okay, and then we'll just do the second one.
I'm Dave, and I'm resident of Thompson Cottages. And this is Philip. I work in the village in the village program, and my parents and my wife's parents live in a village, and it's quite good to live here. It's ideal for little ones because there's a park and it's nice and quiet. It's just a lovely environment to be brought up in. I was brought up here and so on, and so we like to carry it on with little Philip. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity to be given a chance to live here. Really, there's so much more room than where we are now, and we actually put things where we want them to go. Actually got a proper little room for little one. When we were told that we would be given the opportunity to live here, we were really happy, to be honest, because we needed more space. We do a we like to go camping and that kind of thing, so we need space to put things. And we've got little ones' toys, and we just need room, basically. Yeah, we have moved all over the place recently. Well, for the past 6, 7, 8, 9 years, we've moved quite a few times. So hopefully, it's where we're staying.
My name's Martin Booth. I'm secretary of what's now called HoTT Charity, and we built these 3 houses in the village, which have now completed. We set about turning the charity, making it into an incorporate body so we could borrow money. And then once we'd achieved that, looking to get a proposal together to develop this land, build these houses, plan permission, give it design, build, consult with the village, try and get people familiar with the idea and deal with any anxieties people had. Having done that, we then got the funding together with the loan from the Charity Bank and the grant from the Richmond Council and our reserves, which was sufficient to enable us to build these houses. And now that they're finished, it's great to see them. We've got 3 tenants ready to move in, all meeting our criteria of being local residents and having very close family connections to the village. So it's something very satisfying for us to see this plan come into fruition.
There's obviously a need for more rentable housing or affordable rentable housing in the village. We have the land, the National Park and the Richmond District Council helped to develop it, so we went ahead. I can't say much else except the houses look very nice and the builders have done a very good job.
Right, well, that gave you an introduction to community land trusts. Let me just stop that. That gave you an introduction to community land trusts. What I'd like to do now is just really go through really what our aims and objectives were in trying to set up the EcoHolmes. We set up about December last year with this objective in mind. We wanted to provide homes in the Home Valley which are affordable, and affordable roughly is about 80% or less of the market value to buy or rent. We also importantly wanted to set up low energy homes, given that EcoHolmes was sponsored by HoTT and our ambitions to combat climate change and look at ways we could move to a sort of low energy living. Very importantly, then there are opportunities to have energy efficient homes which are both economical to run and also zero energy. We also wanted them to be sustainable, and that isn't just about energy, it's also about conserving water, drainage, acknowledging green space for landscaping and the like, and also convenient for public transport where we're able to sort of not to rely on the car as much. And we also felt that we need to show the way in one sense by providing exemplar homes that could be used as a model for others, and there's a real opportunity for us to do that in the future. We particularly wanted them to be able to benefit local people. The importance of ensuring that our community is resilient and is also sustainable is important. We need to provide homes for the next generations. We can't rely on just having the homes for the people already in the valley. So we felt we needed to provide homes for younger couples needing starter homes, families with growing needs who couldn't afford the homes in the valley, and also older people, importantly, who are looking to downsize and perhaps have different needs than the younger people. We also said we would look to provide either new build or retrofits. It's important to recognise retrofits. A staggering fact is that in 2050, 80% of the homes that this country will need are already built. So the challenge really is on a climate change action is what do we do about that 80% of the homes that are built? And we have a large number of old, cold houses, stone built here in the Home Valley. And the last thing is really ensuring that these homes are for local people. And that's an important part of certainly getting the community on board. It's local homes for local people. These are some examples of existing affordable housing in the valley: Thongsbridge, Upper Thong and Marsden. Not all are low energy, but you can see the smaller, the compact, and they are, most of them are provided or are run by housing associations, in fact. What is affordability in terms of affordable housing? Well, the government's definition is 80% of market value. We also think it needs to relate to local housing allowances. and I'll mention that later, because in the Home Valley, perhaps 80%, even that is too high to be affordable. And when you look at affordability in the Home Valley, an important factor is the ratio between house prices and income. We've done some work that shows that in the Home Valley, it's about 7.7, and much higher than in Kirklees as a whole, higher than Barnsley, but not as high as places like York, and London is even higher. There's clearly a problem in the south, but it's a massive interest. You know, in the days of my sort of youngsters, it was more like sort of 2 or 3 times was the variation in price. Also, for Kirklees residents, the average wage, according to the statistics, is 27,000 a year. If you use a 4-times salary multiplier, which is what you can probably get in the current sort of climate, you end up really being able to afford a house of around about 120,000. Well, that's not very much compared with the average house price in the Home Valley of 255,000. And really also, what local people think. Well, a survey by Home Valley Vision in 2017, their top priority for young people was a more affordable and appropriate housing. And also it was confirmed in the neighbourhood plan consultation that 70% of respondents wanted more affordable housing. So it is clearly high up on the agenda of local people. Well, the availability is interesting. Kirklees' own statistics from the council, they did a housing assessment needs survey in 2006, showed there was a surplus of 3-bedroom houses and a shortage of smaller 1 to 2 bedroom for both young families and also for older people. What that means is there aren't enough places for young people to live in the valley, and in fact we have a shortage of that 19 to 29-year-old generation in our valley. It's quite a dramatic reduction compared to other parts of the valley. And also older people here cannot find places to downsize to. When you look at house prices, the impact on that, you can see there that we've already mentioned the 120,000 price. Well, only 6% in Holmfirth of a survey that we did are less than that. 15% in the Home Valley, but 26% in Huddersfield. So a quarter of the houses on the market in Huddersfield are probably affordable for the average Kirklees resident. And similarly, when you look at houses to rent, a market rent here, 550. Well, a recent check that I did, it was more like 650 a month for a 3-bedroom house. Well, the Kirklees' own housing allowance, which is what they use to say what is the affordable, is about £450. And when we did a check most recently, if you look at the percentage of properties for rents in the market on Rightmove, a small number are less than that 550 compared with a much bigger in Kirklees as a whole. So there's a clear shortage of houses here in the Home Valley, which we might say are affordable. Well, when we turn then to low energy housing, why low energy? Well, climate change, clearly, I think we all recognise now, we need to be reducing our carbon emissions. Well, in the Home Valley here, it's about 30% of our carbon emissions. The action plan produced for the parish council, when you look at the figures in there, based on our assumptions, the biggest 2 emitters of carbon in the valley are transport and energy. And in energy, which is 42%, 30% of it is roughly domestic energy. That is our heating and lighting bills, in keeping us all in the valley warm and livable. We also clearly want to reduce our heat losses. It's very wasteful in a lot of the houses that we've got. You know, a lot of the heat doesn't warm you up, it just goes straight out the door. Drafts and poor insulation contribute remarkably to losses of energy. We also basically want a better lifestyle, don't we? Low energy houses are warmer, they're healthier because we actually circulate the air and clean up the air, and they're basically more comfortable to live in. In fact, people who live in a low energy house wouldn't want to live anywhere else. They also save us money. Money is going out the window, through the door, Energy bills for a typical house of £1,000 can reduce to several £100s. It's quite a saving you can make if you can actually make your house low energy. So why have we got this situation? Well, if you look at conventional housing, it's built to the Part L building regulations 2013. It's a very poor standard in current terms. It's actually got high energy losses. It actually sets a very low bar for building houses. And there is what they call a performance gap. There's a marked difference between what the house is designed for and what it's built. It's not quality assured, and it's left up to the industry to provide it. Well, for those of us who are experienced of what industry can do, it can achieve things, but self-regulation is one thing it's often not very good at. And it's often due down to traditional site on-build techniques. It's not factory produced, it's not quality assured, and generally it's often quite inefficient and traditional. It's often driven by the housing market, which wants low build cost, but in fact you get a high whole life cost, very inefficient. And it's not the way life is going. We often look these days in industry about overall whole life values. On the other hand, low energy housing, it's often very high energy efficient. Passive house is often seen as the standard. There is a cost premium there, but that's coming down, but it's much to do with lack of expertise and experience within the industry. And what you get is low running costs, and that's a benefit. Certainly, if you're looking at affordable houses, come from low energy consumption. You get healthy living because you're using fresh air. The challenge often, though, is, as we've mentioned, is retrofitting. It's a bespoke operation, and there's a lot of work needs to be done in this area. The standards for low energy housing, well, I mentioned that there's a passive house, and I'll speak a little bit about that. That's the gold standard, and there are other standards, the Energy Sprong, which is a Dutch standard, and there's also something which is a partner of Passive House, which is mainly for retrofits. It's a lower standard, and because of the challenges of meeting. And interestingly, the government has recognised this and is trying to change its standards. There is a future home standard coming out in 2025, and there's currently a consultation exercise actually being run at the moment for that. Passive house. What is passive house? Well, essentially, when you look at, let's say, what you're doing, you're providing an airtight bubble within which you can live. You insulate the fabric of the house to stop the energy getting out. So you don't have drafts and cold air blowing out, you're losing your heat. You have insulation wrapped around the house, which actually retains the heat. You also then provide a mechanical ventilation system, which takes fresh air in and the stale air out. But what it does do is, from the stale air coming out, it takes the heat from that and puts it back into the cold air coming in. You also do things like put in high performance doors and windows, so stop the drafts and also keep your stop the energy going out by convection and radiation. And obviously the solar aspects, well, providing shading in the summer and maximising the warmth of the sun during the summer. Importantly, with climate change, the shading is actually quite an important issue. Some houses these days are actually over hot in the summer because of climate change, and clearly uncomfortable to live in. It's also a quality assured standard. It relies very much on modelling the performance and checking at the end after the design whether you've actually achieved that performance, unlike many of the other traditional building constructions. This is some work that was done quite interestingly and was given to us by another housing association. This is the sort of energy levels and losses that you get from a passive house. This is a traditional range of houses called low, often called sort of low energy. But in fact, you'll see there's quite a range of performance there. What's interesting here is the actual, the dark red here. That is actually what they call performance gap. it's actually designed to the higher level here, but actually achieves, when they've checked it, the performance here. So the red is there, the dark red is actually the performance gap. It's what they say it's going to achieve, but doesn't achieve. But you can see it's all much higher. The losses are much higher than a traditional low energy house. A Dutch standard, which is coming over here. Interesting, it's been targeted at social housing. It's also been done more on an output performance. You don't do it yourself. The company actually come in and do the work for you, measure it up and pass it back to you and give you a performance guarantee. And it's done potentially in larger groups rather than individual housing. And it's aimed often at social. So what I'd like to cover on now is our business model as EcoHolmes, why we think we can achieve this dual goal of achieving affordable housing and also eco housing for the Home Valley. Well, as I mentioned, it's a community-led organisation, but the model basically is that we're looking to get free or cheap land, actually from either benefactors or by asset transfer from the council, to give us an opportunity there to demonstrate what we can do. We expect to be able to use that because land is roughly about a third the price of a building these days. We also want to be going for a green or low energy build, and there are various ways of achieving that. Sometimes even using factory build now, which is growing in popularity. We recognise there is a green premium on this by putting this higher HoTT standard, but we think that can be absorbed within, potentially offset against the land savings. It's important that we go for community engagement and we get the support of local people. What we have set up is a commercial vehicle, a community benefit society, and we're building on the experience that we had in setting up Hot Wind, the community wind turbine project, as a vehicle for that. This vehicle can actually borrow money, arrange contracts, let the build and put forward and deliver the houses. Currently, we are a set of unpaid volunteers, both the board and the management. We will be bringing in paid professionals, designers, builders and project manager for the scheme as it moves on to the next phase. This is a graphical representation of what we're trying to achieve. If you take a property on the open market, as I've said, roughly the land cost is roughly 35%. The build cost is 65%. And often within that, there may be quite a significant developers or builders margin for taking the risks and for delivering them. So if we say we have a traditional build cost, which is roughly about 65% of the plots, we recognise then if we can get the land for free, and we can also recognise there is a premium, say, and currently it's, let's say, between 5 and 15% on us. What we believe is that if we can do that, offsetting the additional premium against the land cost still should give us at least an 80% of open market value to be able to build these affordable houses. It's a challenge, but we relish the challenge and we think it's worth doing. So why should we be successful? Well, this is some research that was done on CLTs, and it just puts down there some of the key things that, and hopefully we think in the Home Valley here in EcoHolmes we're getting it right. Effective business planning. We've got a good board of about sort of 10 people from a range of people in the community. We've got access to funding. We've already had some startup funding. We're looking for more, and we have put all our governance in place to help us with that. We think we've got an ownership model as a community benefit society to help us deliver. We've got the experience, some of us, through what we've done on the Hot Wind at Longley. So we think we've got the model in place to be able to deliver the business side with the business people we've got on the board, including Stephen, who's spent his life in business. We also have a range of people involved. We've got some committed, enthusiastic people. We've got a variety of skills in that, and we will be bringing in paid staff. We recognise that some key people will be needed to develop it forward. And importantly, partnerships. We are looking and investigating partnership with, for example, with some of the housing associations, particularly those that might be interested in developing green models. And in terms of the environment, legislation, we're hoping, and so far, that because we're expanding, that the Community Housing Fund will be renewed, and that money, as Boris tells us, money will be ploughed into housing for the future. Community housing is an important part of that, and we hope that funding will be available. And certainly we've been in touch with Homes England, and we have every reason to be assured that money will be available as and when we need it. Community buy-in important. We're doing quite a lot of work on community engagement. We need the community to buy into this and support what we're doing. We also want the council, and we've had some very good discussions with Kirklees Council. They are even making some, giving us some sites to potentially have a look at, and although we haven't decided on anything yet. And we also clearly need access as part of that to affordable land. We are looking for benefactors who might be able to help us, people who, farmers, landowners within the Home Valley, who might have be able to share some of their assets with us to be able to put up what will be a legacy for future generations. So we think we're putting in place all the things we need to make a success of the project. Our progress to date, and I'm just going to run through a number of things here that where we're at and where we'd like to go to. Still quite a long way to go. We've only been going for less than a year, and it's a long-term business. We've set up our CLT, we've set up a Community Benefit Society, we have a management board in operation, we are growing our membership. We have about 60 members so far and about 180 on our mailing list. We'd like to get more members and encouraging more people in the Home Valley to join us. You'll see the details on our website. It costs you £1 to join, and it's a way of demonstrating your support for what we're all doing. We think that finance is available. We've had some initial funding. A key stage we've got coming up is actually when we're looking at what we call pre-development, which is really money to be able to develop solutions, to be able to put in planning applications before we get to the construction stage, and clear bill funding. Finding sites, we are looking for sites at the time. We'd like to be able to, we're looking at potentially between 5 and 20 units. It aligns with a lot of our values and also the will of the community, which really wants smaller developments rather than the larger developments that it's seeing. We are clearly hoping that Kirklees will help us, and if they've got land, that we have an opportunity to be able to get that from them, either through a lease or some sort of transfer, and clearly benefactors. And planning, we've had initial talks with the planners, and it's a challenge here in the Home Valley, whereas people really don't want to, don't always look positively on developments. But we feel that affordable housing is a development worth having. We're community engagements. We've had a number of Zoom sessions we've run through the COVID period. It's been challenging, but we've got some interesting feedback from that about what the community wants about housing, but that we hope to continue. I've mentioned the membership. We're looking to build on that, and we're clearly trying to get as many articles as we can out and spread the word about what we're doing. We've got a website. Please look at that. It's ecohomes.org.uk. And we also got an email list where we try and keep people involved in our news. With housing needs, we're very keen to understand what the needs are and to hear from people who have got specific experiences of housing, either shortfall or can't find what they want or have got views on it within the Home Valley. We're also developing design specifications for what we think are needed and feeding back into those, importantly, what the community say that we want. We are looking at eco-build standards. We've mentioned passive house. Ideally, our passive house is what we'd like to build, and some very good examples around. There's a development at Norwich, which recently won a National Housing Award and has got a lot of press. we'd really like to be able to do something like that in here that's appropriate for the Home Valley. However, for some of our older houses, it may not be feasible because of the challenging demands of doing that. There will be other standards that we look at. And at the moment, we're also developing our contacts with builders, developers. We're looking at MMC, which is modern methods of construction, which is factory built, which is a growing area of interest. And also through the Passive House Trust, they have a number of ideas and concepts that we'd like to look at. We're also developing our networks and links. We're a member of the CLT network. We've also been visiting and having contacts with Hebden Bridge, Calder Valley CLT, and also Leeds. We've got some housing support from them, and we're generally doing some network assistance where we can, getting the word out, trying to get the community behind us, and trying to build the case for building more affordable low energy homes in the Home Valley. Well, that's where we are at the moment. Going forward, we'd love you to be able to join us if you can. You'll find the details about how to join or how to subscribe to our newsletter on the website. Thank you for listening, and please help us if you can. We're now going to have some questions. If anybody has any questions, I'm just going to end the screen sharing, and we'll go back to the shared screens. Over to you, Stephen. Perhaps if you would like to take over, Stephen, in terms of the question and answer.
Thank you, John. It's a very extensive background for what is a very involved subject. So if any of you have any questions, please fire away. I'll try to answer them with the help of John. Any comments? Bill, have you any comments? You're on.
Just to unmute. Yeah. Yes, very informative. Actually, you've gone further than I thought you had. I am interested in this. I think it's a really good thing to get involved with. I think the perhaps more challenging part is the retrofits. What was it? NFIT, was it? It was the standard that they were trying to work to.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a possibility. NFIT is a standard that's been developed with the Passive House Trust, specifically looking at retrofits, where the challenge of the very high standards of Passive House are very difficult to meet. And so it's trying to be pragmatic. And we have always said in EcoHolmes that we might aspire to build a passive house, but we want to be pragmatic enough that we don't discount other opportunities. So we've actually, our title is sort of low energy as distinct from passive house or zero energy. Just a little bit on that. Zero energy is where the house itself is not a net emitter of energy, i.e. you're actually being able to limit the losses from the house such that the human body and the people living in it generate enough energy to actually keep the place warm. That's ultimately what zero energy is. There's the concept of net zero energy, which is where if I put renewable energy in, I have some solar heating, I have some ground source heating, then I top it up, and my overall net consumption of energy is zero. So net zero energy is also a possibility in terms of, and that is more likely for retrofits. In retrofits, you may be able to have a net zero energy house by doing whatever you can with the fabric of the building, but then use renewable energy to bring your, make yourself down to zero energy.
Yeah, well, I've been basically trying to do that myself, but
what we're hearing, Bill,
are there grants available for that, Stephen?
It can be more expensive actually to retrofit. Some of the architects we've been talking to would obviously much prefer new build, but it would be good if we could find the right sort of structure that we can do a retrofit on. That's not so easy, but we're still looking. What was your question again, Bill?
Well, so are there grants available? You know, is there in terms of funding for retrofits? Is there a funding stream, and is it like sort of, are there or will there be grants available that we could?
Well, it is something we're exploring. There are certainly grants available for new build. For retrofit, it is not as easy. As you know, the government have just put out a £5,000 grant for anybody who wants to do some green improvements onto their house. But in terms of a larger scale, we'd have to do that, because on a retrofit, clearly you've got an existing asset value. You know, it's like.
Yes.
Without sharing any, without saying, we would love to have an opportunity probably to do something of one of the old council buildings in Holmfirth, or we'd love to be able to take some of the older buildings in the centre of Holmfirth and actually do something with those. And there is a big argument, there's a strong argument at the moment, and it's been said in some of our Zoom sessions, as to if we are in a post-COVID scenario, would we be better off putting our efforts and energy into relifing, reconverting buildings in close to the centre? Do we really want to be converting or building new homes far out in the rural areas where people are only going to have to commute more? And we actually, arguably, spending money and investing in housing, which is close to public transport, close to centres, is a way of combating climate change by, and it clearly must be more efficient.
So we're negotiating with the council to see if we can get any of their redundant buildings. But of course, on one hand, they want to help, but on the other hand, they see that as having a value for their depleted coffers.
Yes. And
to pass it across to us would be a loss for them, because part of the CLT model is that, as John said earlier, that land is often gifted by councils, by organisations, by landowners.
And one point to make, there has been a lot of controversy in the last couple of years about the relaxation by the government of the planning laws has allowed a number of people, councils, businesses to actually convert old offices in urban centres into housing. But unfortunately, it's been done in a way that actually has compromised on people's space. People have been given shoe boxes to live in, and a lot of people, like asylum seekers or refugees or the socially disadvantaged, prison offenders or policemen, have been put into these sort of places because they are very cheap and they're very basic. That is not really a way forward in an intelligent society. If we are going to reuse these buildings, we should do them, and we should maintain things like the space standards that are required. There are national space standards, living spaces that are required, and we should be conforming to those. So there is an opportunity to do something for reusing old buildings, but it should not be at the seen as a shoehorning people into unwanted spaces. It should be done in a way that actually, and that may not be cheap. That is the challenge, you know, converting old buildings. And if any of you have been around the old council buildings, you'll know these very high ceiling buildings, these old buildings are not particularly easy to do building works on, and will not be necessarily cheap to do a conversion on. But on the other hand, they are bringing them back into community life. They are making them into a valuable resource and providing homes which are close to public transport, which could be used and clearly could be, you know, fit for the future.
Thanks. Any other comments?
I can, in the absence of any obvious questions, I have, if I go back to the presentation that we've done, and right at the very end of it, I've got some questions that I wondered whether would come up, because I'll show you those, and you can then see if we can perhaps have a look at these, because some of these are relevant to, are actually relevant to whether we'll, are relevant to what we're doing. So if you'll bear with me a minute, I'll just have a, I'll just put it up, and you can see what you think. So I'll take you through some of these. I hope I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot here, but the question is, are they really affordable? Well, it's going to be a challenge, clearly. It's going to be a challenge. Can we demonstrate that these are affordable? All the builders would say, well, you know, greenhouses cost a lot more money, so we're going to have to work up there. But unless we try, we don't know. And also, with the modern methods of construction, factory-built quality homes, there is an opportunity there to see what they can be done. And for those of you might have come across them, Ilks Homes is a big builder with a factory up in Harrogate. I think it's Legal and General have got a factory at Leeds producing houses. And also there is a company called C2 who are building homes in the centre of Sheffield at Kelheim Island, and also at in an area in Beeston, south of Leeds, about 500 homes there, called Climate Change Area or Climate Innovation Area, I think. These are all potentially new ideas that people are looking to do. Can we reinvent city living using more modern type of construction and more modern type homes? So it's a challenge. Next question really is around, you know, young people started with. Well, one of the questions we've been asked into, should we be building homes for one type of generation, or do we want multi-generational homes? Well, we're trying to build homes that really are community homes, and community homes we think are better, and that's what the consensus agreed, where we all live together. A few old people, a few young people, a few children, a few middle-aged, you know, whatever, you know, and because we all feed off one another, and communities work best where the generations often mix rather than necessarily dominate. Low energy versus zero, well, we talked about that. Finding sites free, can we do that? Well, that's going to depend on the community. If the community feels strong enough about this, I'm sure they'll find land. Land will be made available. At the moment in the Home Valley, for those of you who have followed it, there are something like 22 sites which have been allocated in the local plan for housing. Something like over 150 were first looked at and gradually whittled away. But all those 22 sites are allocated for land. Many of them might not be built on, because the planning, the law at the moment allows a builder to be able to buy a piece of land, own a piece of land, and not build it. Some of the pieces of land in the Home Valley have been around for 20 years with planning permission, or they've started it and not finished it, because they don't have to do it. There's no compulsion for a builder to build on land. And currently in the Home Valley, builders will build on land that actually they're going to clearly realise a profit on, that is profitable, that they can sell houses on. Well, houses that sell are often in the Home Valley are 3 to 4 bedroom houses with the biggest inside area you can get on the smallest plot that they need to build on. You'll see a number of the new developments around the Home like that. But if land is available, there's opportunities there. But people don't want to build near them. NIMBYs and bananas, is that the expression we use? New build.
John, question.
Yeah, sure.
Is the profit margin not there for 1 to 2 bedroom houses compared to 3 to 4 bedroom houses?
Well, no, in terms of the value, it isn't, because you know, it's the economies of scale, I suppose. You know, people don't appear to want to live in flats or apartment blocks in the UK. In the UK, we all seem to prefer our semi-detached or detached houses, and it's either 4 external walls or 3 external walls, and it's not a very efficient way of building. And also, we don't tend to build particularly high either. So when you look at the cost of a 2-bedroom place and its value compared with its footprint in terms of land, it's actually probably not as efficient in terms of the profit and the margins that the developers or the builders will get. And
so in effect, Bill, they're building not for the community, they're building for, as John says, for profit. So
they will do, but yeah, I was just thinking, my son's living in Ancoats. There's a massive development there. It's been done by one of the big insurance, Manchester Life, but they're in 2-bedroom units. They're perhaps 5 stories, but they're built to a very high standard. And I guess it's because they can actually get high rents. That's why it's workable.
Yeah, it might be because in London, for example, it's quite, there's a lot over there because land is so valuable. But again, they don't build 2-bedroom, 2-story, terraced or detached or semis there. There will be apartments in blocks and things because that's the maximum. And this is not the builders' problem. The builders are just following the legislation, following what the market allows them to do. I'm not going to blame the builders for this at all. This is political will and the community and what we want. And unless we change that, things won't change. Front-end development costs. This is a challenge for us. My background is in infrastructure construction, and in the private sector particularly, getting a good project together is where the risk and the cost is. It's the front-end development cost. Once you've got a good project, the money will come in for funding. The challenge, like for us, is getting a scheme together, getting a potential site, getting a design, and the costs of that are not insignificant, and that is where things like there are schemes, there are funders around who will help with that area. And Homes England, that is one of their tasks. They put money into housing. That is what the Community Housing Fund is intended to do, to help front-end development in cases, particularly for community schemes. That at the moment is there was a 3-year program that ended basically at the end of 2019 and is yet to be renewed. They're all waiting to hear whether that will be rejuvenated and a further fund of money put in. It was 160 million for 3 years and to get community housing going, and it has not been renewed yet. Building cost certainty, that's always a risk. Construction projects always cost more than you expect them to cost. There's risks with the ground, there's risks with the building, there's risks with the supply chain. It's clearly a risk here that when we go ahead, that we haven't got enough money to fund the projects. That'll be about how good the team is in putting together the package and managing the risks. Occupier eligibility, local people. One of the challenges we've been looking at an allocations policy. An allocations policy tries to define who would get the housing. What are the criteria that you would be allocated a house? We clearly would like to see that it is local people. But what's local? Is that somebody who is living here? Is it somebody who was born here but can't afford to live here? Is it the children of somebody who of a family in the valley? What does it mean? All those issues, and how important is it? One of the interesting things was put to us the other day is, should we be providing houses to allow people who live in the valley but then commute to Leeds, Sheffield, Manchester to live there? Should it be for local people who both live and work in the home valley? So issues there, and the community might have a voice on many of these issues. Anyhow, that was my list of questions.
Michael Pugson's just been asking a question about whether it is for people who work in the valley, as I understand his question. In an ideal situation, Michael, yes. It should be people who live and work in the valley, and so therefore there is a loading system that the community land trusts use to weight people by their need. Is the answer to that question?
Just to chip in, but there may be someone who works in the valley, works for a long time in the valley, but has never been able to afford to live in the valley.
Yes.
And correct.
I think they've got, someone who lives there and works there. They would reduce it would be a greener issue for someone like that to actually live there, and excluding them because, well, you weren't born here, were you? Or your parents weren't born here. Seems somewhat xenophobic to me.
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah. And they would score fairly high is the answer to that question.
Yes. I don't think we at the moment feel that we want to be that prescriptive or, I should say xenophobic in terms of not giving people a chance to make their case. I suppose the concern that we might have, in one sense, has been that particularly if we're working with Kirklees or with housing, that they say, well, we've got somebody who's living in North Kirklees who needs a home, and he will want to put him into one of the houses, and so we need a rationale that allows us to have an appropriate allocation policy, a point scoring system essentially, that actually does give all the points that you mentioned, Michael, some a clear basis for putting that person forward as a suitable person to get one of the houses. So it's something that we're not fixed on, and we're working through. That'll be, but it will be, I would think, a couple of years before we get to the point of having a house that we can put somebody in. But we certainly hope that it's something that we can, get our ideas a little clearer on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we've just about done our hour, John.
Yes.
Unless there are any more questions, we could wrap up now.
Yeah.
Thanks, John, for a very exhaustive background there. Very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much, then.
Michelle,
Do join us if you can.
Michelle's got a question.
I haven't got a question. I just want to inform everybody. Everything that's happening this week will be stored on our YouTube channel, which I've created. So this tonight is being recorded. I will put it up in its raw form immediately, but I've asked John to send me his presentation and the videos, and then what we'll do is make a proper movie so that you can actually see the videos properly, and the presentation will become a movie.
Yeah. Will you be able to edit it, Michelle, and take out all the ums and ahs and the
no? That's far too much work. But no, I'll put this up as the recording just as it is, as I said, and then when I've got time, I will actually put in the videos, for instance, because they were a bit jumpy, as they always are with this sort of thing, so that you can actually see them properly.
Yeah, yes. I wouldn't mind a copy of the video, actually, because I can do some editing on it as well, because I'd be quite interested it'd be quite good for us in EcoHolmes to be able to have a version of this that would be quite nice.
Yep.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Right, bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Kim's clapping you.